Thank you.
Welcome to this exciting episode of the Incubate podcast, where we are telling the story of Eswatini online. Today, I have a gentleman who is the president, CEO, and founder of one of the very first private educational institutions in Eswatini. I am pleased to be having on the show today Mr. John Bukutu. Mr. Bukutu, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for
We are
having
excited to be having you, and we want to hear the story of Amadi.
me.
We're getting into a time where Amadi is turning 20,
All right.
and this is not a joke.
Thank you.
Where
Thank
did
you.
Amadi start? What was the thinking? And
Right.
as you reflect back and look at Amadi now, what really comes to your mind?
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Amadi was registered in 2003. 2023 is our 20th year. Amadi was registered at the very beginning as a training consultant. Piggybacking on my background as a training consultant with a number of training institutions in the country and in the region as well. I was doing quite a lot of training in the region, particularly here in Eswatini, Mozambique, South Africa, going all the way up into the region, Mozambique, Zambia, Tanzania, a lot of those. So we started Amadi. Amadi basically is an acronym for Africa Management Development Institute. So when we started, it was Africa Management Development Institute. Why Eswatini? You would recall that within the SADC division of portfolios, Swaziland holds the human capital development. So that time, there were quite a lot of people coming into Eswatini for training, particularly government officials from different African governments, mainly from Southern Africa. So we saw an opportunity there to participate in that. The offering was basically short. We call them CPD, Continuous Professional Development Programs. This is where you have your degree in economics or a master's or even a PhD or an undergrad in, say, in economics, for example, and you're working in the Ministry of, say, Agriculture or Public Works, and you are made a project manager for a project, and you have no project management skills. So we offer programs like those, project management skills in a masterclass kind of format, where people come in for a week, 2 weeks, maximum 4 weeks. We give them very intensive, but where you pick up quick skills that on the Monday that you go back to work, you quickly apply them. So that's where we came in. So from 2003, that's basically what we were doing. We were privileged to interact with delegates from, I would say, probably 33 countries from Africa, across Africa, most of Southern Africa, except maybe Madagascar, where we have not trained anybody, but all the other countries in Southern Africa, we have had some training for some staff from those countries. We have done quite a lot in East Africa. We've done quite a lot in West Africa, in Central Africa, so both in Anglo and Francophone. We actually have people coming from those, and obviously Mozambique, which is our neighbor here, which is a Lusophone country. We did quite a lot of training there. Where we have not really done much is our northern cousins, our northern brothers, your Moroccos and your Egypt, but we have had some interaction. Most of the countries we have had quite a lot of work that we have done with them there. So that's the Amadi as Africa Management Development Institute, as a training consultants that we started with. So it grew from there. Now, coming to Amadi as the university, around 2007, 2008 early, we discovered a phenomenon where teachers from Eswatini were moving, particularly during holidays. They would be going to Zimbabwe. Some of them were going to Solusi University, I recall, Africa University, and other universities in Zimbabwe, and also to South Africa. And most of them were those that had the old PTD, the primary teacher diploma or primary teacher certificate, and they were upgrading themselves. I think that time, government had said every teacher should develop themselves. So they didn't want, I think they wanted to start to employ from diploma upwards. So those that had a PTC, the certificate, and some of them had actually done this for a number of years. So we thought teachers were hiring buses to go to Zimbabwe, particularly because of my link with Zimbabwe. I saw an opportunity there. So we started to talk and say, instead of them going there, why don't we bring what they're going there for? So we went into a discussion with MSU, Midland State University. It actually started in 2008. But because it's a state university, there's quite a lot of levels that you have to go through up to Senate, and it is established by charter, so it had to be approved all the way to the Attorney General's office. So the agreement, I think only we got the approval for an MOU end 2008, 2009. I think that's when we signed it. I remember it was Professor Bebe who actually came down to sign. He was the VC then. So he came down with his huge team, and we had a very good ceremony that time, signed it up. And it was a service that was well received. What MSU then did was that, look, since you are starting and you don't have much experience, actually no experience at all in teaching at that level, we will make you an affiliate college. So what it meant is that we were an appendage. We were actually MSU in Swaziland. Because if you're an affiliate college, you sit at all the boards, the academic boards, the examination board, probably except the Senate, but otherwise all the boards that have to do with academic preparations, academic exams, everything that we have to do. And also it meant that the lecturers that we had to employ had to be people at the same level that they could also teach in Zimbabwe. So the CVs, the profiles of the lecturers had to be approved by MSU before we could put them before students here. So it worked quite well, and I think because of that, because of those checks and balances, because of those quality assurance that MSU put in place, I think it was quite welcomed by the market. I recall then the PS then had a meeting with us and said, look, it is well and good what you're bringing in, but I have a group of teachers that are in the industry. I think that time he was saying around 2,000, 2,800, that have no teaching qualification at all. But they have been teaching for years. I recall one lady had been teaching for 17 years, and she didn't have a teaching qualification. The old time where somebody finishes O-level and they become a temporary teacher, and they remain a temporary teacher for life.
Yeah.
All right. So then they said, what can you do for this? Because our approach then was to bring in bachelor in education, because that's what people were bringing in, and we're going out to do basically. So we then sat with our partners in Zimbabwe, and it is actually our first rector, Dr. Tulihle Ngetwa, who came up with a diploma in education. So she worked rather with the team in Zimbabwe and her team this side, and we came up with a diploma in education. So we were then the first in terms of private institution to actually offer a diploma in education. So it was approved by the ministry, and it was then registered by MSU, because then the MSU didn't have a diploma in education as a qualification offering.
Right.
So they have it now within their offering, within their basket of courses that they offer. But I am not sure if they offer it in Zimbabwe, but they put it in, it had approved by Senate, because if it wasn't to be a qualification that they approve, it had then to go through the whole process. So it was quite an interesting journey for us. I think it brought in quite a lot of interesting experiences for us as an institution. So then we transitioned then from being a consultants, training consultants, which we still do, by the way, but we then transitioned to actually be a university college, because then we were an affiliate of a bigger university, so we couldn't call ourselves university. So we were a college of another university. But as you know, you become an affiliate college or associate college. This is the regulation, the law in Zim. Up to 10 years, you can't be for more than 10 years. So our affiliate status ran through, I think, in 2020. I think we still have maybe a few that we are teaching out now. We still have a relationship with MSU, but we are no longer an affiliate college because the understanding is that after 10 years, you are supposed to be,
you should be fully fledged.
Yes, you should be weaned out and
right.
all that. Yeah, and they helped us quite a lot. So we started now to do our own registration with the ministry. And also ESHEC, which is the regulator in the industry. So we have a provisional accreditation with ESHEC. We have our qualification that are a MAD qualification that are now we are offering. I think the last graduation that we had was where we had our first cohort of our own qualification that we done. So that's the journey. That's the journey. That's what we have been doing from 2009 up to today. So this is like our 11th, 12th year.
This is amazing. I think this is all very amazing. And I'm just thinking then for me, just imagining Amadi, the consulting firm, having one little office somewhere in Babane. Where did this start? Was it in Babane? Was it in Manzini?
It was actually in Babane. It was the old Johnson Street, I think. I can't recall what it's called now. But it was the old Johnson Street. That's where we started. I recall that we actually were sharing with a lady that was selling stationery. So we were in a corner with our desk, and this lady was selling stationery. And once in a while, she has an order for tissue paper. And
it just fills up the whole office.
Yes, yeah. But it's a journey. That's the journey of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs, particularly in Africa, we have a challenge of resources, and our ecosystem looks at you and say you're in business, so you have the resources already. Yeah. The moment you say you're a businessman, you're an entrepreneur, the expectations is that you have the money already. But when you are starting, it's only now I think the culture is changing. When we were starting, anybody that started business 20 years ago and even earlier, there's not much support. The moment you say you are standing on your own, people expect you to already be strong. You go in now. But now there's startups and all these other initiatives that government is bringing in, other international partners are bringing in, and I think I'm seeing the easing up of the ecosystem that builds up entrepreneurs and other business people.
I'm also just thinking about the difference between your conventional or your traditional state-run and state-managed universities. And there is Amadi that is morphing from being a development consulting, management consulting firm into a university college. How then did you package your value proposition that it be different from what, let's say, University of Eswatini or any other your conventional state sort of university was offering? How then did you move to differentiate your value proposition? What was making Amadi more attractive besides, of course, the MSU programs and their credibility then?
I would say from the very beginning, you educational institutions are not supposed to be competitors. This is what I strongly hold, and it's a discussion that I've had with people in the industry. And if you think about it, an institution like Amadi that is starting in 2009, particularly at that level, or even though it had already started in 2003, but at the level of offering degree programs or university programs, and the institution like University of Eswatini, which is more than 50 years old, there is no contest. in terms
No,
of
there isn't. Yeah. Yeah.
if you are coming in, you have to learn from University of Eswatini. You have to learn from MSU. That's why we came in on the back of MSU, because they were already in existence and they were working around that. So in many countries, and I'm happy that it's starting to happen in Eswatini. There was at the beginning a feeling that this upstart Madi wants to challenge UNISWA, for example, and particularly on the education and other education colleges that are in the country. But again, like I'm saying, it doesn't make sense. There is absolutely no way, even now in our 20th year, as an existing institution. UNISWA has even moved further. It's, 60, 70 years old.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely no way. It's like me saying I'm contesting against my father. Yeah. I am part and parcel of who my father is.
Yeah.
If I'm 30 years old, my father is 70 years old, it doesn't matter how much success I've made in life as an individual. That success adds to what my father has already done.
Yeah.
So when we look at my father holistically at 70, you have to include all the success that I've already done as his son.
Yeah.
So this is my understanding, and this. So I think I'm happy now that there is quite a lot of a collaboration that is taking place within the institution. And for us, obviously, if you are coming in, just to go back to your question, if you are coming in as a private institution or any other institution, private or public, you have to complement what is existing.
Yeah.
So for us, we looked at our role as a complementary role of what was existing, obviously offering a good service at the same time. And we also were looking at ourselves as when you look at public institutions, this is the world over, but particularly in Africa, that there is not much resources, that there's a lack of resources, particularly to take care of everybody that needs to go to a public university. Our case in Zim, for example, there are a lot of universities there now, state-owned university. South Africa has probably up to 20-something state-owned universities that are in there, but they're still not enough. So there's always a need for a private player. It is probably in our case, people then that start private institution do not have access to much resources. And there's always now, between surviving as an entrepreneur, between surviving as the founder of the institution, and make sure that the institution actually survives, there is always challenges there. But if you look at comparative markets like the West and even India, for example, which is maybe closer to us, most private universities are actually owned by conglomerates. This is an interesting thing that I discovered about India. So you find that a company starts in construction, does very well, gets lots of contracts at state level, at national level. In the private sector, they build quite a lot of things. They make money, millions and billions. And then they go into other sectors, and then they realize, no, man, we now have maybe 100,000 staff members. We actually need to train our own people. And from there, an institution is built. So a number of very good universities and institutes in India are actually owned by groups or conglomerates that started maybe in construction or in retail or in IT, but because of the money and the other resources that they have, then they start an institution. And I think that's the ideal situation. In our case, particularly in Eswatini, but also I've seen it in South Africa, in Mozambique, in Zim, with other partners that we work with. It is individuals like myself that say, let's start.
Let's do
that.
I find this interesting because there was, look back 15, 20 years ago, there was a certain sense of stigma and insecurity around private university learning. But it's not the same anymore.
Yeah, it was there with reason, really, because there were unscrupulous actors that would come in, take maybe registration. Imagine if you can register 100, 200 students at 2,000, you actually make a lot of money, and then they disappear.
You disappear,
or they will do some kind of training here and there, but then when the going gets tough, the abandoned students.
Right.
And when we came in, the situation was pretty much tapering out, but it was still the same because then the regulator was not yet constituted. Because I remember when we went to the minister and said, look, we want to start this, we want to be regulated, we want to accreditation. And they say, look, we don't have an instrument.
Yeah.
So that time
There's
there
no
was no
mechanism to
instrument.
do it.
So I'm actually proud to say that we played a role, probably in a smaller way, but a role in actually the regulation of education, particularly at that level, tertiary education in Eswatini.
Because there's suddenly this entity that existed without regulation.
Yes,
how do you fit it
so
in?
So the ministry was saying, okay, who are you working with? Then we told them, okay, we're good. That what do you have? What did you sign? We said an MOU. Okay, bring that MOU. They went through the MOU and said, okay, this will suffice. So I remember one of the university that came after us, the Christian University, also was in the same boat when they were starting. I think people remember in the early years there was quite a lot of bad press around them. You know, their qualifications are not approved; they're not recognized by anybody, and they were actually told by officials at the ministry to come to Amadi. And I remember we spent 4 or 5 hours with them, explaining to them how we had done our own work. And I think if I'm not mistaken, they ended up going to sign an MOU with UP, University of Pretoria.
Right.
But I know now that I think they have their own qualification. So I think from there, I think up to 2013, that's when ESHEC then was constituted and acted into a regulator, which now we are working with going forward. But it is a journey that we are all going through, and the issues around education and quality and everything are continuous issues that have to be looked at.
I'm interested also in understanding issues related to trust, because quite a lot of it was stemming around, mostly in Africa.
Right.
We've traditionally trusted the state institutions because we know where you find them permanently.
True.
Has it also then meant for the private entities that there had to be some sense of physical infrastructure, a certain sense of permanence that says we're not going anywhere?
Yes.
What has been the Amadi experience there?
Yes. So when we started, obviously we started with rented properties, in our case, because we're dealing with, especially at the tertiary level, we're dealing with large numbers. So we would have our offices, but you now find that we have 300-400 students that you have to deal with. So we would have to go and hire schools, because most of our classes were taking place during school holidays on a block release, 2 weeks. So we'd go and hire schools either in Manzini or here in Baban, where we would run on this. But obviously that's not sustainable. So we came up, we had to buy our own property. So we are sitting at about 76 hectares of land, and we have our own infrastructure now. So we have some sort of permanence in terms of structures. But yes, I think one of the issues around mistrust of private institution is, if these guys up and go, where do I find them?
Where do we,
where do I find them? And this is an issue that is taking place all over the world. It's not only here. South Africa has suffered quite a lot around that. And I remember one of the partners that we actually partnered in South Africa to offer ECD here, early childhood development. At one point, we just couldn't know where they were. And we had students here that had signed up for them, and we can't find them that side. We actually had to ask even the ministry, I think ESHEC, to assist. I think they would also try to call them, and they wouldn't find them as well. So this is in a bigger market like South Africa, and it gave us very bad press this side, because the student didn't understand why they can't finish their qualification, and we have to go and also have a chat with the guys. So there is that issue around if you are entrusting your child or your own career, start career with an institution that doesn't have its own structures, if it fails, what happens? What happens? So I think the regulator is putting safeguards now around that. You really have to show that you can do what you say you are going to do. So there is a continuous assessment that is taking place by the regulator. In South Africa, I know you have to, I think, certain qualifications or certain level of institution, you have to put in some kind of bond, right? So that when you disappear with students' fees, and then government has to find a way around that. But government, because of the permanency of government, people trust government institution more than private institution. But it is changing, because if you have proved yourself, there is that trust as well. But for me, I think the good thing is that there is a goodwill from the regulator, from the authorities to work with us. I think they have an open door policy. ESHEC, for example, has a very open door policy. The ministry itself has a very open door policy. You can go in and ask for a meeting and discuss your issues, and they will find a way of discussing with you, because at the end of the day, you are partners. Because the public institution cannot take care of everybody. So besides the ones that are training within the country, there are many that are also going out to other countries. So imagine if those that were going out were not going out, and they had to be trained in country, there won't be enough institution actually to take care of them.
I'm finding this very, very interesting, because when you look at tertiary learning, tertiary education itself, you typically are in universities, whether it's here in Africa or it's somewhere else overseas abroad. And the founders of these universities were white male, and institutions, you go to some place in Europe, they're over 200, 300 years old, and all of that. And here you are as an African man setting up an institution that already has gone into 20 years, and that's projecting a lot more into the future. What is the significance of this when you think of this? And what do your peers say about you? I know you're probably also in one or two networks of private universities globally, and all of that. Is that space for black people? Is that space for Africans who have not come from lots of money? Because you mentioned something which I thought was very important, that when people hear that you're setting up an academic institution, a university, they think you're fully loaded. But you started from scratch. You started from one little office that you're sharing with someone who was selling toilet paper and all of that. What has been the significance, John, of this journey for you as you look back?
You have to be a little bit crazy, I think. I think probably anywhere in the world, really. If somebody wakes up and say, I'm going to study university today, I think the first reaction is to say, he has gone bonkers.
Are you
now.
crazy?
Very crazy. I remember a friend, Professor Taylor. We had worked together on some project at Rhodes University. And when he came, when we had just bought our land in Ngwenya, and we were on one of the hills, and I was showing to him, said, look, we're going to have an admin there, we're going to do this there. He said, yeah. Then he left. Then he came back about 4 years back, later rather, and he saw some structures, and then he said, you know what, I have to apologize to you. You know, remember that time we took some pictures? I talked to my wife, I said, you know what, John has gone crazy. He took me to a bush and told me that he's going to put a university here. And so I think that's symptomatic of really what happens. Particularly in creating an institution like a university, without resources, without much support that you can start with. But I think there is a lot of changes. If you go back, you said quite well that if you look at some of these universities that are now 300-400 years old,
Mm-hmm.
that now all of us
Are running
are
to
running
want our
into.
kids to
They've
go
got
to, yeah.
serious reputation. They were just started by individuals.
Yeah.
Some of them maybe by pastors. Some of them were started by priests. Some of them were started by farmers. People that probably today they will not qualify to even become a janitor in those universities.
Yeah.
If they were to go, if they were to come today and say, I want to work here, they may not say, no, look, you can't even, maybe in the grounds, maybe, but they started this institution, and I think an institution needs somebody that goes on and say, we're starting.
Yeah.
But what then is needed is to build the systems and bring in competent people. That's why, personally, I don't think it's wise for me as a founder. It doesn't matter how many degrees and qualified I can become to actually run the institution. It doesn't make sense for me to actually run the processes, the academic process. Somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
It's the same as I believe even in the medical space. I'm a very good doctor. I start a hospital and a clinic. I don't think they should do that. They should run the hospital. Somebody should run the hospital, and they continue being a very good doctor.
Yeah.
So I should continue being a very good entrepreneur, but get somebody who is an academic, who knows how an institution should be run, who knows how exams should be managed, because I don't know how exams should be managed. I don't know how recruitment should be done.
You are a visionary. Yours
There
is
you
to
go.
put
There
the
you
vision
go.
in place and get the right people.
And bring others then that buy into that vision.
Yeah. Because at times we want to hold on to everything on ourselves, just by
Yes.
ourselves. We want to do everything
Yes.
together.
I think it's a chief syndrome. I call it the chief syndrome. As Africans, we want to be the chief. So even if it's a chief of small anthill, I want to be the chief. But I think there is also a lot of changes when I talk to particularly young people that are younger than us that are coming in. I'm seeing a lot of collaborative. But I think, look, these are the Facebook, Twitter, TikTok generation. So collaboration, content creation with somebody in another place. I think their experiences are different from ours. So I'm hopeful that going forward that will change. But my generation and the one or the earlier generations, I think there is that challenge. That's where we want to hold on to something instead of letting it fly. Let it somebody who can do it better. Because I believe that if you are a founder, you are a leader of an institution, get people that are actually better than you in many areas to do it. Because there's absolutely no way I can be good at everything. So if the vision better and bringing people together and let them talk, let them make the mistakes, but let them do it. Let them do it right.
This is interesting. I mean, when we sit and we reflect on Amadi having gone through these 20 years, I know sometimes you and I have conversations deep into the night, and what is the role of having a support structure around you as an entrepreneur? Because setting a university up is not easy. Being the founder and the CEO, there are so many problems that go on at universities that will end up at the doorstep of the CEO themselves, where even the head of the technical head of the institution will channel all of this to yourself. What has been the role of the support structure around you? It could be family, it could be peers, it could be even your kids. And what has been that experience for you?
There is that anchoring effect that you get, particularly from family. The family has really been a pillar. The frustrations are many, but you want to say, when you come back, you can shut out whatever is outside and reflect, so that the next day you wake up, you start again. You say it very well about networks, particularly external networks, friends, associates, and for us, I think we have been very fortunate in my case to have a huge network that we can depend on. I think also it started from our consultants days when we started, because remember, like I said, we're getting people from all these different countries. So you find maybe within a delegation that is coming for training, say from Zimbabwe, somebody works in the president's office, so they become your friend. Maybe a group of trainees come from, say, Tanzania. I remember one time we had 7 judges that came for training. They actually had their own security, so there are 2 security people that they were moving around with. So again, they become your network. We've trained, we've run workshops and conferences where ministers, deputy ministers were, permanent secretaries were, directors were, founders of institutions. So you get that network, and that network carries you through, and it's very, very critical as an entrepreneur to have a network that supports you. The central one is your family. It's very, very important. I think I would be lost at sea or drowned if I didn't have my family.
Yeah.
And then the other networks, the associates, and all the other people that we have worked with, people like yourselves that we can sound on a number of things. Sometimes it's just a general discussion, but when you are hit with somebody, then you realize, no, man, we had this discussion around this. Maybe let me find out. Or you mentioned somebody, or you introduced me to somebody. Then I have a problem that needs somebody with such a skill. I'm able to call on that person and say, look, remember that person you told me about? Can I have a chat with them, because I really have a problem that I think they can help. I think one of the things also very important for entrepreneurs to have is a mentor, and coaches as well, people that they work with. And I think during my life, particularly the past 20 years, I've had a number of people that I can sound on. Maybe there was nothing formal to say they're actually being my mentors, but I would just say they mentored me. Some ended up even working together. I would mention Dr. Mnisi, for example, who became our chairman for 3 years. You learn quite a lot. Just how do you run a board meeting? Because remember, when you're an entrepreneur, you've never sat in a board meeting.
Yeah.
So for 3 years, you look at this man or this woman running a board meeting and say, okay. Then you quickly recall so that this man has sat on 26, 30 boards over his career. So what he's doing now is what he's actually done in all that. And going forward, I mean, I'm a teacher at heart, even though I've done accounting and all these other things, but I'm a teacher at heart. And one of the things I've learned to be a good teacher, to be a good facilitator, to be a good lecturer is to have learned what you have known just an hour ago. I mean, to appear to have known, rather, what you've just learned an hour ago. For the rest of your life, or basically say, you teach me something now, I go and teach it as if I've known it for years. So when you learn from the boards and how they do it, when you are doing it also, when you chair your next board meeting, for example, you just do it like you've been chairing boards for the past 17 years. When this is actually your first or second meeting that you're chairing.
So the sort of confidence that this also builds, having mentors helps in giving the confidence.
Definitely.
As I'm just thinking about this, I think it's important for our viewers out there to just try to count in the list of their contacts, and also just to find out how many of their contacts have actually gone on to start universities, just to show the significance of the conversation that we're having here. And John, we're privileged to actually be having you. So I am very lucky to be hosting this show today and having a bit of this experience, especially the Amadi story. It's not every day that you find somebody who's got the courage to go out there and actually start a university, because this is something that is multi-generational. This is something that will go into decades, into centuries of years, much further after you are gone. So this is very significant, and I think a lot of good work has been done by Amadi in the last 20 years. I know at times when things seem to be difficult, we sort of forget how far we've come from, really. But I think a lot of good work has happened, and congratulations to Amadi and for carrying this vision as well. I was also just thinking, as we reflect on this journey, John, what have been some of the high points for you in the Amadi journey? And what have been some of the lowest points where you felt like, oh my God, I think I've had enough, I'm out of this? Yeah.
Right. Look, there are many high points. I
Yeah.
think every graduation for us is a high point.
Yeah.
You really see the optimism. You see an old mother really happy for her daughter, for her son that has achieved something in life, and you're just saying, I was part to that.
Yeah.
You see all these people coming from very far, congregating into a room for those few hours. And for me, every graduation has been a high point, really. And I think as well for us, securing our land and starting to build, moving into our own premises, one of the probably the high points. I think interacting as well, coming back to the consultants, interacting with delegates from different countries. You interact from PAs, secretaries, all the way to CEOs, directors, permanent secretaries, ministers. So that really you see quite a lot of interesting things, and you build yourself as well from there. A lot of low points and very hard points, to be honest. Running in a social enterprise like a university is really not easy. And I've often said that I think even if you have 4,000, 5,000, whatever number of students you may have, even if all of them pay fees on time, it's never going to be enough. That's why you see institutions like the Ivy Leagues and other institutions in the States and other countries, they actually have these endowment funds and some massive endowment funds that they actually have because they recognize that what you're doing is a social enterprise. Somebody will come. I mean, many times I've had to take a call from a parent that is crying, my daughter really has to write the exams, but I don't have money. They've already paid 10,000 or 11,000 out of maybe fees of 14,000. There's 3,000 that is left. But your accountants and others, they need that money.
Yeah.
But this kid, the parent is saying, I really need my kid to write because maybe she's the first one to go to college. All right? And so for us, the low points, most of them have been weighed down by resources. All right, lack of resources because pretty much all the things that we're doing is self-funded, fees that we collect from the students, and also funds and other resources that I have to generate and from elsewhere, and also well-wishers that come in. So one of the things that we're trying to do to mitigate that is we've created a foundation, Amadi Africa Foundation, that we want to use as a fundraising arm of the university because there's a huge need. There's a huge need for scholarships. Even those that can, there is nobody. I think most of our students, there's no one that can say 100% I can pay my fees. Even though they end up paying at the end of the year or at the end of their course, but 100% they can pay their fees. So imagine if we can create an arm of the university that really goes out there and look for scholarships, look for funds, and say, we give scholarships 100%, 70%, 50%, 30%. So that person that is, they have to pay 14,000, but now they've paid 11,000. They've paid already 70% of that, but now they can't write the exam. So what do you do with the 11,000 that they have paid? Because the parent maybe sold 1 or 2 cows for that. All right. So I think the low points around funds, around delays in paying, for example, our lecturers, because we just do not have the money to pay them that time. And also the students are owing, and you know that if what the students are owing, if they were to pay like 50% of that, you can clear all the lecturers. All right? But they just can't because that time they do not have the money. All right. So that, I think, for me, are some of the low points, and also maybe linked to that, as an institution that is growing, you may have administrative glitches that seriously affect how you run. And because of you mentioned the issue around trust, because already in most people's mind, private institutions are not to be completely trusted, even if it's a Amadi, even if it's been there. So even one glitch, one problem, maybe one staff member that has done something that affect a student, immediately it goes into the press. It becomes, and you have to deal with
overblown
that. Exactly, you have to deal with that. And in the age of social media, sometimes you just can't control it.
Can't contain
the internet
it,
doesn't forget. That's what they say.
Yeah.
So you may find somebody has lost their paper, or their paper can't be found, their exam paper can't be found, their certificate has not come on time, it goes into social media. You can't control the comments, you can't control what people say, you can't control the perception that then is built in there. So I think in the past 2-3 years we've had some really bad press that we have been working on now in the past 6 months to try to recover from. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress, and for us, the idea is to learn, to pick lessons from all those, and do better going forward. But some of them can become serious PR nightmares, and particularly this 2022, I think we have dealt with quite a lot of those.
And I'm just looking at how this also coincided with the COVID period as well. I'm also just thinking, what was the impact of COVID in the work of Amadi, and how has post-COVID attempts at recovery been like?
Look, the COVID was devastating for us, because our training arm, our consultants arm, our international training arm, has always been a buffer when things are a little bit low on the university side. We depend on that, but there was basically nothing in the 2 years of COVID.
Wow.
Because people couldn't just travel. So you can't do anything. You can't do online, you couldn't do anything on that. So it was devastating. We even now, I think we're still recovering. It is our belief and prayer that we get speed and recover much faster. We're still recovering. We're starting to see now our international clients coming back now, but in terms of we couldn't use our offices and students, even when we're doing online, but also sometimes paying. A parent would say, "Look, why should I be paying you?
You're just
when I'm just seeing WhatsApps between your teachers and our students." So it was devastating, and I think we had to let go some of our experienced staff members. We lost a number of students as well during that time. We had closed some offices in Manzini, and that also meant we lost those students from our Manzini office. It is something that we are now starting to see if we can reopen, and rebuild on that. But it has really been devastating, and also because we're a private institution, there wasn't support.
That safety net that maybe government institutions were able to get.
Even other private companies, there was some kind of support that government and banks were giving, but for private institutions, we actually didn't see any. We didn't see any. So we just have and for us, we're still feeling it even now.
But in spite of all these difficulties, though, John, do you think Amadi has contributed something to the Swazi economy, as Amadi contributed something to the socio-economic fabric of this nation, and also maybe just a bit into the region as well, in spite of all the challenges that typically any enterprise would face? When you also look back in the journey of Amadi, do you see any tangible benefits to this economy, to the region? Are there people that you can point at, or institutions that you can point at, whose work has been enhanced, or whose profile have actually been enhanced because of the work with Amadi? Has Amadi added value to institutions, to individuals? Have we contributed anything to the socio-economic fabric?
It is my strong belief, yes, we have, and I think particularly in the education sector, in Eswatini and in the region. I think we are close or more than 3,000 students that have graduated. I'm not sure if my statistics right there, since we started. And those are all contributing in schools. They are teachers. Some have gone to do their masters. I remember we had somebody, I think he was an MP when he started with us. Had a diploma. Then I think he was elected MP when he had a beard, and then he started with. We finished with his masters. So we have quite a number of those people that actually started with us at a diploma level, and now
and
either they're doing their masters or they're done. At their master's level. So we have some now that we've worked with either as lecturers or that have studied with us that are within the Ministry of Education itself. I think if you were at our graduation yesterday, the Undersecretary in the Ministry of Education, Babet Lengetwa, is actually our product. It got our masters through us. So I think even within the ministry itself, we have people that have actually done qualifications with us. I get people that come to me and say, "Oh, my wife did the masters with you guys," and I said, "Oh, this is a CEO somewhere," and
that's amazing.
And our guest speaker yesterday, Dr. Mazubuko, he said, "Oh, look, I know this institution and I know the quality because I saw the thesis, the dissertation that my wife was writing when she was doing a masters with you guys, and I know the quality."
That's amazing.
So. Dr. Tlengetwa often talks of a story where she was in Manzini and some men stopped her and say, "Dr. Tlengetwa, you're from Amadi. Here's 20 rands. Thank you very much for what you're doing. I have teachers. I'm a head teacher in this school. The teachers that come from Amadi, they do very well. I have 20 rands. Please go and buy a drink."
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I think...
that's affirmation of the good work.
Yes. And I think... at that social level, I think we've done that, and at individual level, people that didn't have any qualification. Imagine you start, you come, you get your diploma, you get your beard, you get your masters. You are somebody.
That's life changing.
That's life changing. Some of them are in high positions in government and international organizations. I remember, I think in the UN, we have some people that have gone into the UN. So I think in a small way we have impacted at such an impact, and economically as well. I think we, especially in our early years, when numbers, and we're still building on that. But there are people that have built careers in the 20 years. There are people that have worked for Amadi for 20 years, and there are people that have gone in and out of Amadi, consultants, lecturers that are maybe working somewhere else, but they get something extra from Amadi. The community of Ngwenya, I think the town board has often said that, look, we have also helped to build the town itself. I think properties around Amadi University, the prices are actually going up, and I've seen often in the newspapers when somebody advertising 2,000 square meters near Amadi University, So we are being the reference,
a landmark. Yes, a point of reference.
Exactly,
to valuation
for somebody
of
that
property.
Yes, we said since it's closer to Amadi, so the value
should go up.
should be this. And in the
so
region,
we should be getting something right.
Yes, I think so. There's a lot that we still have to do, and I think a lot of support that we need to do, a lot of systems that we need to put in place, and probably tell our stories more often, even though when there is some issues, because some of the issues, the issues that you find in any university and every university, anyway, even the older universities in the country, someone that loses their paper, for example, or their certificate, they can't really find where it is. But because you're a private institution and there's that mistrust, then it's blown in the social media as it were. But I think we need to keep telling our stories. We just had a graduation, and some of the profile of some of those graduates was, you'll find that these are some of the people that actually started their studies within COVID, and they managed to finish
and they did
their qualifications. So that's a story to be celebrated, because it was not easy. Some who were graduating yesterday, for example, those whose studies were interrupted during COVID, but they came back and say, we are finishing, and now they're in the industry already, going out. So I think the onus is on us as an institution to tell our stories more. And interact more with the community and say, look, like an institution, like any individual, we make mistakes, but work with us. Work with us and do not hesitate to point it out. Many times I think I've had people that come to me, oh, look, I did the qualification with Amadi, my things have moved, I've been improved at work, promoted at work, but I want to tell you, say, please, tell your staff to communicate a little bit more. Tell your staff to be a little bit more polite with us. I understand they want money, from us, but look, the way they should talk to us, they shouldn't, rough us up, you know. I mean, look, I'm a head teacher. I have 400 kids under me. I've got 30, 40 teachers under me. You can't talk to me like, I'm a 16-year-old. You understand? And I understand that. I mean, look, if I'm owing somebody and with the few people that work with me, and someone roughs me up, I would feel that, look, man, talk to me nicely. I know I'm owing you, but talk to me nicely. Still, so I think we get that, and it's a learning curve. And I think we're trying also to move our staff around to make sure that, train them, but also maybe move them around. Maybe you are better back office, you are better front office, you are better that. I think we're starting to see, we don't get many complaints as we used to, that, I was roughed. I mean, I remember a very high profile person, the wife was doing a qualification with us, called me, John, I'm not happy at all what the people have done. They shouted at my wife. I'm sure, the wife was crying at home, and because emotionally she felt abused, and I felt very bad, because this is somebody that I trust in society, it's someone that I respect also in society, and is calling me and say, look, my wife was roughed up by your people, so you have to find a way of now building up around that, and this is the burden of a vision bearer. Because you have the vision, you know what you want us to do, but getting from here to there, there are a lot of issues in between that we have to deal with, and I think it is something that we are building. And for me also, many thanks to the staff and other people that we've worked with over the years, those that we still have and those that have left, because there are quite a lot of contributions that they've made, even if people that left not in a so good way, but a lot of contributions that they have made to the institution to be what it is today. And whoever comes in today, it doesn't matter what they do, they have to thank those people, because the institution is where it is because those people did something.
So I see a lot of value also coming from learning, from making mistakes and wanting to adjust. And the sincerity, for me, this strikes me quite a lot about yourself, and even how you speak about the institution itself. So you guys are a learning organization. You continue to grow and to learn, isn't it?
Yes.
And how important is this in entrepreneurship to be a learning organization?
I think personally for me, it's very important that you keep learning. Keep learning. The more you learn, the more you actually realize that you still have to learn more. Somebody says, the more I know, the more I realize that I actually don't know anything. So the more you learn, you realize that actually you need more of that. Learning is like a prayer, the more you pray, the more you realize you actually need to pray. The more you learn, the more you actually realize that you need to learn. So from individual to the institution, and one of the things that I've instituted is, especially from the very beginning, was that everybody that works at Amadi should study. So we have staff members that came maybe with a diploma, and if they're still there at Amadi or they have left, but they have master's degrees. And so we've quite a lot, and we've always pushed people, and especially when the MSc opportunity came, quite a lot of our staff members and lecturers, some that had come at masters, or some got the second masters, because they took advantage, because they were not paying. What you just needed to do was study. That's what was important. So Amadi had always made sure that people, is something that I've always insisted, that you have to study. If you're working at Amadi, you have to study, because for me, I always say, look, if you've worked at Amadi and in some position, and when you leave, I would like you to leave to go to a better position.
Yeah.
It works well for me as well. I mean, look, if you've worked at Amadi and now you are in the ministry, I'm sure you know how we work.
Yeah.
So if I come to you and say we have these problems, you are able to help me. If you have worked at Amadi, now you're a senior bank official. If I come to you and say, you know what, we're having some problems, how can the bank help us? I think you look at us in a more sympathetic way.
Yeah.
You know, if you worked at Amadi, you are now at an international organization and we're looking for funding for students. You're working for the UN or another international organization. I'm sure you look at us sympathetically. So it's very important that we have people studying, and we've tried to do that. And I think I'm proud to say pretty most of our staff members have taken advantage of that. And I remember, I think we have one or two that actually started as cleaners, and now they are PAs or secretaries because they did something. They decided that they want to improve themselves. It is something that we want to continue. We won't stop that. So if you work within the institution, you have to be someone that studies and keep improving yourself. Yes.
Yeah. And what inspires you at a personal level? What drives you?
I think at one level is the negative impact of lack and poverty, and say I don't want that. So it's like you're running away from a certain darkness.
Yeah.
So that darkness is very close. If you don't improve yourself, if you don't, then think that darkness will come and cover you. It's like homes. Remember, in our rural homes, if you don't improve the area around that hut that you've built, within even months and a couple of years, the bush takes over.
Yeah.
So for me, that bush that is always following everybody of lack of poverty. So I think that's the negative part that you're running away from. But I think on the other side is the joy of achieving something.
Yeah.
Is the joy of seeing somebody coming and say, a mother ululating in a graduation, like I've said, because her daughter now has managed to get a qualification and is the first one in the family to get a qualification. The joy of seeing your child growing, happy, because you're working, you're doing something, you're providing, and also as an individual to say, this is my story. This is where I started. This is where I came from. These were my dreams when I was in grade 6. These were my dreams when I was in Form 3. These are my dreams when I was starting university or when I was leaving university. This is where I am today. This is where I am today, and the stories of our generations. When you look at our parents, people that have brought us to where we are today, and the respect that we have to have to what people that have gone before us have done to bring us to where we are, and say we shouldn't just live and check out like a cow and nothing else that you have. So you have to live something, make what you've found better. If it's your family, make it better, because somebody has done something for that family to still be there. So make it better. If it is a community, if it is a country, if it is a nation. I've lived in Swaziland now for 22 years, going to on 24 years now. I'm a citizen of Swaziland now by naturalization. So if Swaziland has welcomed me and accepted me and embraced me, how do I make it also better? Because this is my home. All my children were born here. So I need to make sure that I make it a better place as well in my own way. Yes, that's what moved me.
As we end, John, we are talking of Amadi having gone into 20 years right now. What is up in store for Amadi in the course of the next 20 years? What do you see Amadi in the next coming number of years? Where are we going with the institution? What's exciting right now as we look into the future?
For us, within Swaziland, within Eswatini, we really want to build up. We want to be part of the building up and the development that is taking place in the country. We are working on doing student accommodation. We really want the institution to be a world-class institution. We want it to be a regional. Our aspirations are actually international. Aspirations is, as an institution that is based in Swaziland, we have aspirations to have students from probably every country in Africa coming to Swaziland and study here. This is my dream. But also, we want the institution to grow even beyond the borders. Of course, we have offices in Maputo, Mozambique, and in South Africa. We had some offices in Namibia and Botswana. We had to close because of the problems of the past 3 years. But we want to reopen in those places. We have invitation to open in Malawi, for example. We want to go and open in Malawi. We want to grow in the region. I'm looking at in 20 years' time. Why not have 1 million students?
Wow.
Across Africa?
Yeah.
Online and physical institution. We want to do the whole value chain of education, not only at the top tertiary, but we want to do high school, we want to do primary school, we want to do ECD. So we want the whole value chain. Wow. So if you do that, so you have now a Madi education as an institution that then has universities, primary schools, high schools, ECDs, sports emporiums, sports academies, where some kids can come and do all this. Why not? This is what we're looking at. Wow. We should be able to build and do more. And then when we are going out in 20 years' time, by God's grace, somebody else should be able to, take it further, and we just in the background and get young people really running it and doing it much better than we could ever hope to do it.
With so much achievement so far, yet the ambition is still there and it's still growing. It is really an amazing story, not just of Eswatini, but I think it's an amazing African story as well. And for many that are also watching, I have been having a conversation with the founder, CEO and president of Ahmadi University, Sir John Bukutu, and has been sharing his story. He has been sharing the journey that he has walked over the years and also the ambition that stays. And we need more African founders starting universities. We need more sons and daughters of Africa setting up institutions that have a sense of permanence with them. And it's been a great pleasure, John, having you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Incubate podcast, telling the story of Eswatini. My name is Charlton Tsodzo. We see you on the next episode.